Define for me induced demand.
Induced demand is when increasing the supply of something, like roads, services, or resources, actually leads to more consumption of it. For example, adding more lanes to a highway might encourage more people to drive, ultimately increasing traffic rather than relieving it. In short, the demand grows as the availability does, sometimes counteracting the initial benefit of expansion.
So if, let's just say, gasoline were to get cheaper, can induced demand be a factor here?
Absolutely. If gasoline becomes cheaper, driving suddenly feels more affordable. That can encourage people to drive more. Longer trips, more frequent outings, maybe even choosing cars over public transportation. That's a classic example of induced demand at play.
So let's say that AI makes businesses cheaper to operate. Therefore, we can have smaller companies that tackle problems we've never tackled before. How does that work out?
Well, in that scenario, as AI lowers operational costs, it's like expanding the road for entrepreneurship. Smaller companies, which might not have had the resources before, can now jump in and solve niche or previously unprofitable problems. The induced demand here is that once those opportunities open up, and it's easier and cheaper to tackle them, more entrepreneurs jump in. That creates a whole wave of new innovations and solutions, which in turn can reshape entire markets.
So as companies, the bigger companies, start to downsize, what is most likely the thing that could happen with those employees?
When big companies downsize, those employees often have to pivot. Some might find similar roles elsewhere, but a lot of them, especially if AI makes starting a business easier, may shift into entrepreneurship or freelancing. They might use their expertise to create smaller, specialized ventures. Others could move into roles that emphasize human-centric skills, like creative strategy, relationship building, or leadership, where AI can't easily replicate that human touch.
What other times has a technology displaced the workforce, and then the workforce had to shift?
A classic example is the Industrial Revolution. Mechanization replaced many artisans and farm laborers, but those workers didn't just vanish. They shifted into factory jobs or later into service and managerial roles as economies evolved. Another more recent shift is automation in manufacturing, which pushed many workers toward tech, logistics, or customer service roles. Each wave of new technology tends to disrupt, but also eventually reshapes where people apply their talents.
So let's just take the introduction of the automobile and all the different jobs that they had based around horse and buggy.
Exactly. The rise of the automobile displaced blacksmiths, carriage makers, and stable hands. But that workforce didn't just disappear. Many transitioned into new roles: auto mechanics, road builders, gas station attendants, or even traveling salespeople, now covering greater distances. The skills evolved toward maintaining or improving the new infrastructure, so it's a perfect example of one industry's decline sparking the next wave of opportunity.
So is entrepreneurship likely to be the I tell you what, help me compare this to, say, the automobile being introduced, right? Or you could compare it to when the tractor became a thing and most people were on farms and then they weren't anymore. What fields did they go into? And is entrepreneurship going to be kind of that new vehicle that we can compare to one of the other transformations that happened?
When the tractor mechanized farming, a huge portion of the population, once tied to agriculture, shifted into industrial and factory jobs as manufacturing exploded. Similarly, when cars replaced the horse and buggy, people moved into automotive manufacturing, mechanics, and infrastructure development. Now, as AI and automation reshape business, entrepreneurship does seem to be a new frontier. Just as people move from farms to factories, many displaced by automation in traditional roles will either start new ventures or work in smaller, agile businesses. The big difference is that entrepreneurship today might be even more accessible. Digital tools lower barriers, much like factories once did. So yes, entrepreneurship could be that modern vehicle for workforce transformation.
Let's just say that there is a flood of entrepreneurs in the system, and now that business is so much cheaper, kind of like gasoline became cheaper over the years, what opportunities would it provide with a flood of entrepreneurs looking to solve problems and are pivoting from their jobs while having cheaper businesses? It's cheaper to run businesses.
When it's cheaper to run businesses and there's a flood of entrepreneurs, opportunity expands on multiple fronts. First, niche problems, once too small to be worth solving, get tackled. You'd see hyper-specialized services and products designed for highly specific audiences. Second, competition drives innovation. With so many problem solvers, the bar for creativity rises, pushing entirely new industries or solutions. Third, local economies diversify. You might see more community-focused ventures, social enterprises, or creative collaborations. Essentially, it democratizes problem solving. More people have the means to turn ideas into reality, and that can spark waves of fresh solutions.
If there were three things that someone could do who maybe has some entrepreneurial tendencies, maybe they're a little concerned about their job, what are three things that they could do if they wanted to possibly start their own?
First, they could identify a problem they're passionate about solving, something that either frustrates them or that they deeply understand. Second, they should start small. Test their idea with minimal resources, whether that's a side hustle, a prototype, or a freelance gig, so they learn quickly without huge risk. Third, they should build a network. Connect with mentors, other entrepreneurs, and potential customers, because support, feedback, and relationships often fuel the next steps. Start with curiosity, start lean, and start connected.
With Wham.